Hoop 7 proudly brings to you Basketball Hustle, featuring your hosts, the writer, Chris Pike, and the scoring machine, Shaun Redhage. Now it's time for another episode of Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. I'm your co-host Chris Pike, and let's get straight into it because we've got another jam-packed show, and I'll introduce my co-host and the man that you're all here to hear from. He doesn't need the big introduction every single week, so we'll get straight to it. Shaun Bruce, thanks for joining me once again.
Thanks, Pikey. Appreciate the intro, and I'm looking forward to another great episode.
Now last week I think we surprised ourselves with the number of questions we got in your Q&A segment, and you certainly got tested on some, and you got to open up about some different things. Did you get much feedback during the week from some of the question and answers?
Yeah, no, it's always fun to hear the fans' questions, and that's the one benefit I think of social media these days is be able to have access to players and people that you probably wouldn't do on a daily basis. So to get those questions was great, and hopefully we did a good job as we can answering them.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll try to do that segment, make that a regular thing. Maybe once a month we'll do that segment. So if you've got some questions for Shaun, just store them up and send them through to us on social media, anywhere through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and we'll make sure that we get to them. Another big show this week as well, Shaun. There's plenty happening across the league, and there's plenty happening here on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. So, first of all, Shaun Bruce, who is having a career resurgence right now at the Sydney Kings. His last 3 games, he's had 22 assists. He's playing some tremendous basketball, and that's the guy who couldn't find a contract in the league last season. It's great to see him earn that spot now at the Kings and to play some great basketball. He's a guy that you spent a fair bit of your career playing against. It's nice to see him getting the chance that he deserves now to show what he's fully capable of.
He's doing it on a good team as well. So Credit to Shaun Bruce for sticking with it. It's always tough to be in the league and then go and kind of play in that second division. Been playing over in the QBL, done a fantastic job over there, but then get back in the league, and not only just get back, but now making a difference in playing some great basketball. So credit to Shaun Bruce. I think it's a sign of the respect that the league has for him and what he's been able to accomplish. But also, I mean, that takes a lot of drive and commitment to stay motivated. And then when you get your opportunity to make the most of it, and he's certainly doing that.
Absolutely. Now, I've also caught up with Cody Ellis, a man who I think a lot of people are still surprised that he's never ended up playing for the Perth Wildcats, given what his dad Mike did for the club, and maybe it was because you and Jesse Wagstaff were such stalwarts at the Wildcats that he just didn't get a look in that power forward spot. But he's somebody that still had a really good NBL career. It might not be over yet for him. He might still get another chance down the line. He's certainly not too old for it, but he's somebody that you spent a fair bit of time playing against during his NBL career, but also the last 3 years in the SBL.
Yeah, no, a guy who just found a way to, I think, get the most out of himself. And, he seemed to just always hit big shots. I remember just playing against him or watching him, and he would just, come in just almost just a little bit casual. And whenever those big moments arise, he would hit the big shot. So, I think, it's probably a surprise he hasn't played for the Wildcats. And that's, sometimes it's just a numbers game, not a talent-wise. But, you've got Jesse Wagstaff at that 4th spot. I guess I was there for a number of years, and Matty Knight as well. So you've had some pretty good players in that spot. So sometimes it's just hard to find that room for you, even though your talent says you can play at that level and that position for the Wildcats as well.
Absolutely. And for the 4th quarter this week, we'll have a change it up a little bit, and you'll have the 4 biggest surprises so far of this NBL season. So keep an eye out for that, because that'll be worth checking out as well. So plenty going on this week's show, Shaun. So let's quickly move into it, and also thanks to Hoop 7, we wouldn't be here without their support. And stay tuned throughout this show. We'll have a special code word for you where you can get a special discount to use at the store as well. And also thanks to ID Athletic and to Devlin's. And of course, if you're listening to us right now, you've found us somewhere, but whether it's iTunes or Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube or indeed on 91.3 Sport FM, You can hear Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle at just about anywhere you can imagine. So thanks for tuning in, and it's time to get into the show, Shaun. And looking back on round 6 of the NBL, it's hard to think anything but Melbourne United and the Sydney Kings are the two standout teams right now. Melbourne United have won 4 straight games now. They've put up 107.5 points over the last 4 games that they've won, and the Sydney Kings just keep winning as well. They're now 8-1 on the back of that big win over the Perth Wildcats on Sunday.
Yeah, well, going into the season, if you would have said those two teams are the most talented, if I looked at their roster just on a pure talent, I knew it was only a matter of time before Melbourne United kind of got on a roll. And Casey Prather is back, probably not up to the level that he's accustomed to, but he'll get there over the next couple of weeks. So that's a scary thing for the league as well. They're winning without the 3-time championship winner, Casey Prather. So it's, I think Melbourne United is starting to figure it out. Defensively, though, I've got my questions there, but I think there's no doubt Sydney Kings are absolutely rolling right now, and other than the one blemish, they're looking like they are the team to beat, and it's going to be a tough out for them, especially throughout the season, but then once you get into the finals as well.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the New Zealand Breakers as well. They lost 2 more games on the weekend. They're now struggling at 2-6, and they come to Perth this weekend to play on Sunday. A lot of injuries over the weekend, and they played the game against South East Melbourne Phoenix, already missing, I think, Jared Weeks and Rob Lowe and Finn Delaney, and then obviously RJ Hampton got ejected early on, and Scott Hobson's missing as well at the moment. It just looks like a different club to me right now. They worked so hard when Andre Lamanis was coach, when Richard Clark was general manager, when the Blackwells were in charge as owners. On our very first show of Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, we spoke to Dylan Boucher about how much pride he took in helping build that culture of the club, and they ended up winning 4 championships as a result. But it was more than that. They were greatly respected for the way they did their business and the way they played their basketball. And, I guess it was CJ Bruton and Mika Vacona and Dylan and, Paul Hanari, Kirk Penny, these type of guys that set the culture on the court, and, Andre Lamanis and Dean Vickerman as coaches did as well. But since the ownership change with Matt Walsh coming in, they've now, gone to the outside in terms of coaches. They've got two guys from Israel as their coach and assistant coach. They seem to be putting more of a focus on talent over culture or character right now. What do you think of what's happening at the Breakers at the moment, from what you can tell from the outside?
Well, it is an interesting one, and because I guess I was there in the Breakers, and they were just trying to get started, and then the Blackwells came in as the ownership group and just really set the tone as this is the character of the team, this is the culture we want to build, and really set the tone there. And you had some strong leaders there. Tony Ronson left the Wildcats, still one of the best leaders I've seen, and a great winner. You had CJ Bruton come over. Obviously, Dylan Boucher, Paul Hanari speaks for itself in the leadership group that they had there. And then Mika Vacona, the Ultimate Warrior. So it's, all those guys are gone now. Yeah. You bring in a guy like Glenn Rice Jr., who is extremely talented, but I've seen extremely talent doesn't usually win games on a consistent basis in this league. And I think they're finding it out. I think Matt Walsh is new to the league a little bit, and new to, he's been there for a couple years now, but I think he's still kind of figuring out what kind of team and system they're going to be able to produce on a nightly basis. And it's, it's got to frustrate, there's guys like Paul Hanari, Dylan Boucher, CJ Bruton. I imagine on the outside it would frustrate them just knowing the groundwork that they laid in Mika Vacona in that club, and just to see where it is now, it just seems like you're right. It's just pure talent, and we're going to try and out-talent you, bring in RJ Hampton, who's an extremely talented player, but it just doesn't seem like it's gelled out on the court yet.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be fascinating to see how they go now on Sunday in Perth. But moving along to the Next Stars program, it was a massive weekend for them. LaMelo Ball had the best game of his short NBL career up in Cairns to lead them to a win. It was an interesting one for RJ Hampton, as we talked about, getting ejected probably unfairly unfairly. I don't think he deserved the two tech fouls in that one incident against Southeast Melbourne. But then Didi Louzada had a massive game as well for the Kings. How do you feel the Next Stars program's working? And are you happy with the fact that players that have already been drafted in the most recent NBA draft are eligible under that program?
I'm not sure NBA draft picks was the goal of the program at the start. Didi Louzada and his game against the Perth Wildcats was just incredible. Yeah. Just shows the talent level that he has. The exposure for the league, we've never seen anything like it. So, I think that it's been fantastic from that point of view. And I think some of these guys, you're going to look back, they're going to be better for coming into this league and playing in a professional environment. But I do think it puts a little bit of a strain on the teams as well. You look at Illawarra, and obviously it's LaMelo Ball's team. They're going to have to play him 30 minutes. They've got Slam as their major sponsor. So it's LaMelo Ball's team, and you're going to have to ride those waves with a 18-year-old point guard. So, I love it from a league's point of view. And the exposure that they're getting. There's been some comments this week about, Sydney Kings having 4 imports and all this with Didi Louzada. But, the Kings are playing by the rules. Those are the rules they've set with the Next Star program. Any team could have signed Didi Louzada. Sydney Kings snapped him up, and they're reaping the benefits.
Well, basically, the way I understand it, any team could have signed anyone drafted in last year's draft who isn't on an NBA roster. So that left a fairly wide talent pool. So there was plenty of options there for other clubs as well to go down the Next Stars path. Just touching on that as well, James Wiseman, potential number 1 draft pick. He could be number 2 or number 3, depending on what happens with LaMelo Ball. Deemed ineligible to play by the NCAA, but that's still up in the air. I still think there's a bit of water to go under the bridge there. But if he isn't able to play the rest of the season in college, would you think an NBL club should pick him up, and who would be the best destination for him?
I hadn't heard a lot about James Wiseman until this past week, and I started to watch some of his game film. Wow, if he, people are talking about LaMelo Ball being the number 1 pick. After watching him, I think it's going to be hard for teams to pass up the talent level that he has. I think him and LaMelo Ball will be 1-2. I don't know. It depends on what the team needs, whoever is in the lottery with the number 1 pick. But, I think there's some teams that would definitely be in the market for a big guy like that. His athleticism his head is almost touching the rim on most times when going up for block shots. So he'd be a human highlight film, even at 18-year-old in our league. So it's an interesting one. It's the one thing about the NCAA that frustrates me. Penny Hardaway helped them out moving expenses. Penny Hardaway wasn't even a coach at the time for Memphis. And now they're deeming an 18-year-old ineligible, and yet the NCAA is profiting millions of dollars off the exposure of a guy like that. So I hope for his sake he's considered eligible and that it gets all sorted. But going by past what's happened, I could see him playing over professionally pretty soon.
It'd be great for us if he ends up here. I think it'd be great to see him in a place like Cairns to see what he can do for basketball in that area. But also, there's no reason he couldn't come to Perth. There's no reason he couldn't go to Adelaide. I think there's a number of destinations there for him that would be pretty exciting.
What if he ends up in Illawarra? The whole world is already watching the Hawks, so why not throw another player in there?
Well, then they would pack out that stadium. They have to pull down the curtains on the building. Then you would think. Now, let's keep moving, Shaun, because we've got plenty to get through on this week's Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. Let's move into the Round 6 recap, and we'll quickly run through the games from last weekend. Started a long time ago, Thursday in Auckland, another really good crowd at Spark Arena, but it was a good game too, but Melbourne United on the back of a big third quarter got the win, 104-101 over the Breakers. Chris Goulding, 16 points in the third quarter, and Shaun Long, Mellow Trimble, pretty good as well. Glenn Rice in his first game, only 2 days after arriving in the country, put up 26 points in 18 minutes, but another tough loss for the Breakers to take.
It is. You kind of thought that they were going to really make Spark Arena their fortress. That's one they needed to kind of stay in contention in that top four and give them a shot. Yeah, just that third quarter by Chris Golding was to me was the difference, and that talent that Melbourne United team has is exceptional when they're clicking on all cylinders. I think there's only Sydney be able to contest with them on a basis when they're playing their best.
Yeah, I think so too. Then Friday night, speaking of the Sydney Kings, they got the win over the Brisbane Bullets 95-85 in Brisbane. Fascinating game. Brisbane put up 60 points in the first half, and they looked like they were playing some really good basketball on the back of Lamar Patterson especially, but they only scored 25 points in the second half. Sydney put the clamps on them, and again, the key to the Kings was having so many contributors, whether it was Brad Newley or Shaun Tate or Casper Ware or Craig Moller or whoever it was, like Shaun Bruce, who we'll speak to on the show shortly. It was another really good performance from the Kings.
They are. They just got, telling someone this week, they just got another gear and another level that the other teams don't have. And we saw that against the Wildcats. But in that game, 60 points. Probably weren't happy at halftime with their defense, especially the way they've been playing defense this year. And then they just turned it on. And that's something that other teams don't have, where you can just clamp down to be able to take your game, but then also have the offense to back it up. So it's they're a machine at the moment, and it's a well-oiled machine, and they're getting it done.
And also on Saturday, South East Melbourne Phoenix, they keep winning in Melbourne. They still haven't really been tested away from Melbourne. Their one trip away was, of course, the 30-point loss in Perth. But, against the short-handed Breakers coming off a short break and then losing RJ Hampton on top of Jared Weeks and Rob Lowe and Finn Delaney and Scott Hobson also being out. The Phoenix were too strong in the end, 103-78. Mitch Creek was good again. John Robertson good again. And Dane Pinot, one of the surprise packets this season, had a career night.
Yeah, Dave Beno, he's really relishing getting that opportunity, and you just see a guy like that who's played behind Bogut for last season at the Kings. I think he learned a lot going against Bogut on a daily basis in training, and then gets this opportunity making the most of it. And Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, we'll talk about them a little bit later in the show, maybe. But they are really just find a way to win, and credit to them. They haven't had to play away from Melbourne other than Perth, and they're making the most of it.
Cairns Taipans, really disappointing for them. I think they would have penciled this in as a win in there after a 9-day break, first of three straight home games. But the Illawarra Hawks came to town and got the job done. 101-91, terrific game from LaMelo Ball, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, hit 5 3-pointers. But Sunday Desh was a surprise packet, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, best game of his NBL career. And then you had the veteran bigs, Dave Anderson and Josh Boone, having their best games of their seasons. Yeah, it was a really good performance from the Hawks. They ended up 27 offensive rebounds for the game, and if you're getting that many, you're not going to lose too often.
No, they played their best game of the season, I thought. And if you're Cairns Taipans, you're pretty frustrated with that loss. I mean, playing there for a number of years, it's a tough place to play, and Cairns just has to find a way to make that their fortress at home and get those wins at home, because it'd be tough for them on the road. But if they're not gonna be able to beat Illawarra at home, I think it's gonna be another long season up there in the far north. Melbourne
United, Adelaide 36ers, always a fascinating rivalry, but Melbourne was too strong, 109-90 on the back of a big second quarter. Melo Trimble, best game of his season, he was terrific. Chris Golding, really good again with 5 threes, and just too much firepower in the end for Melbourne.
Yeah, you knew it was going to be, Melbourne United, how they're playing offense at the moment, they're just trying to outscore teams. And then you got Adelaide, who likes to run it up and down. It was going to be an offensive juggernaut game, and Melbourne United obviously starting to click on all cylinders. And Adelaide, they had some guys that were a bit quiet. Daniel Johnson, especially in that first half. So they're going to need all their guys to really be clicked to be able to compete with United and Sydney Kings and the Perth Wildcats this year on a consistent basis. So, and they need Randall to play at his MVP level.
Last game of the round, Sydney Kings beat the Perth Wildcats 104-85. Didi Louzada, massive game, 28 points on 7 of 11 shooting from 3. But again, they got plenty more contributions from there. And really, it was a two-man show for the Wildcats with Bryce Cotton, 36 points, Nick Kay, 18 points. But they're going to need a lot bit more contribution from other players if they're going to win games going forward for the Wildcats.
Yeah, it was, Sydney Kings just have another level that other teams don't have. And even with Bryce Cotton scoring 36, doing whatever he wanted out there on the court, probably didn't get the recognition he deserved with the game that Didi Louzada had. And credit to the Kings for the way they played. And they're doing this with Bogut, being a little bit quiet on the offensive end. But knowing Bogut as well, that's not going to really worry him. He's not concerned. He's played with Steph Curry for a number of years, so he doesn't need to score to have an effect on the game. And it was, it was a shooting clinic, one of the best shooting games I've seen a team play against the Wildcats as well. It was an impressive performance, and especially, that was the Wildcats' first game of the round. That was the Kings coming back home, their second game. So I think it makes it even more impressive, and they're top of the league for a reason at the moment.
Now, thanks to that round 6 recap, thanks to Hoops Heaven, just quickly running through the ladder, Shaun. Sydney Kings still on top, 8-1. Southeast Melbourne still second, 5-2. It's a great start from them. Perth Wildcats 6-3. Melbourne United now on the back of that 4-game winning streak, 5-4. So that rounds out the top 4. Brisbane Bullets 4-4. Adelaide have now lost 3 in a row. They're 3-4. And then I think there's a bit of a gap to the rest. It's hard to see. New Zealand Breakers, who are 2-6. Cairns Taipans 2-6. Illawarra Hawks 2-7. It's hard to see any of those three staying in playoff contention. What does the ladder tell you at this point?
Well, I think it's going to be a fight between Brisbane, Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix, and Adelaide for that 4th spot. I think those top 3, I think the Wildcats, Kings, and United are the 3 best teams in the league, and that'll probably play out over the season. Not sure how that, who's going to finish 2nd and 3rd out of the Wildcats and United, but I think it's going to be a battle for that 4th spot. I kind of get the feeling Brisbane Bullets might sneak in there just because Southeast Melbourne, they've had such a great start to the season, but also I think the schedule has helped them. So once they start playing some road games, it could get a little bit tougher later in the year. So we'll see how it all plays out, but this is NBL basketball. You never know, and that's why we play the game.
Touching on some of those teams, probably especially Brisbane and maybe Adelaide as well. Do they need to make personnel changes, or if you were those clubs, would you stick with what you've got for the rest of the season?
We talked about this last week as well. I think Brisbane probably need to find that more inside presence, that 4-man that can maybe even switch over to the 5 if they need to. A little bit more of a physical presence than they're getting from their current guys. Adelaide, I like Griffin. I think Randall's pretty good for them. I think they just got to find a little bit more consistency in that lineup. I think that they're capable of beating anyone when they're playing their best. Knowing Joey Rise will get them. But I expect Brisbane, they'll make a change at some stage if they want to be able to compete with the Sydney and United and the Wildcats come the end of the season.
That first segment was proudly brought to you by our naming rights sponsor here on Basketball Hustle, Hoops Heaven. Check them out at hoopsheaven.com.au, or if you're in Perth, head down to Murray Street in the Perth City, because it's a store that has everything you could ever hope for when it comes to your basketball gear, your basketball equipment, your shoes, your jerseys, your T-shirts, your shorts, your jackets, your jumpers, your hats, your beanies. Everything you could ever hope for when it comes to basketball, Hoops Heaven has you covered. And as our major partners here at Basketball Hustle, they've got a special deal for all of our listeners as well. Once you get to the checkout at hoopsheaven.com.au, or if you are indeed in store, mention this podcast to them, and the special code word is HUSTLE. So if you type in HUSTLE at checkout, or mention HUSTLE to the team there at Hoops Heaven, you'll get a special discount, all thanks to Hoops Heaven and all thanks to their partnership here with us at Basketball Hustle. whether it's all of your first ever NBL gear, including RJ Hampton and LaMelo Ball City singlets, they're fantastic. All of your Perth Wildcats gear, all of the NBA gear you can ever hope for, all of your basketball shoes you could hope for. Hoops Heaven will have you covered, and make sure you check them out. They're fantastic supporters of ours, and make sure you support those that support us. Moving right along here on Hoops Heaven's Basketball Hustle, and our first guest on this week's show is a man in the best form of his NBL career right now. Shaun Bruce is playing tremendous basketball with the Sydney Kings. He's part of a team that's sitting on top of the ladder at 8-1. His numbers, coming off the bench as a guard, 5.9 points, 3.9 assists a game, 22 assists in the last 3 games he's played, and that's for a guy who couldn't find a contract in the NBL last season. He started the season working out up in Cairns, where he had played previously and was coming off another terrific QBL season. But yeah, he ended up in Adelaide for the end of the season, but quickly snapped up by Will Weaver and the Kings right now, and he's a crucial part of that Kings lineup, and he's been especially important in the absence of Kevin Lish. He's got a great story to tell. He's somebody I've enjoyed talking to over the years, and I've enjoyed being able to write articles about him and talking to him for them, whether it's for the NBL or for the clubs he's played for, and just trying to draw attention to him because he's a great story of perseverance, and it's great to see it paying off for him now. So I hope you enjoy my chat now with Shaun Bruce here on Hoops Heaven's Basketball Hustle. Shaun, thanks for joining me here on Hoops Heaven's Basketball Hustle. I've spoken to you a lot over the years, and it's a little bit different now to be doing it for a podcast rather than an interview for an article, but always a pleasure to catch up to you. And over the years, it's been a pleasure for me to get to write about you, because I think you're somebody that has always deserved the attention, deserved the opportunity to play big minutes and play a key role on a team, but it hasn't always happened. And I feel like over the years when I've written about you, it's been, in the back of my mind, it's been in the hope that these things would happen for you. Right now, over the first 9 games for the Sydney Kings, it looks like you're getting to show what you've always been capable of showing. How much have you enjoyed this first 6 weeks of the season?
Chris, firstly, appreciate that, and I guess the support you have shown me over the first, 6 or 7 years of my career. But yeah, I'm enjoying every day here with the Kings. I mean, there's a lot of changes here at the club, and obviously bringing in a new coach with Will, and even management with Paul taking over. So there's been a lot of changes around the club, and I think they've all been positive changes, and what they're trying to build here at the Kings in terms of being professional and really taking care of things off the court as well as on it. It's been really exciting to be a part of, and yeah, it's just something I've enjoyed every day, and I feel really comfortable here, and yeah, it feels really good.
More than anything, it looks like a team that's a lot of fun to play on right now. You've got so many players that are all playing their roles so well, where there's probably not any great pressure on one player to stand up on any given night, given you've genuinely got probably 8 or 9 guys every single game so far that have made contributions to the wins that you've had. It looks like a team that is a lot of fun to play on. Is that how you would sort of describe this team so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've got a lot of, star-studded guys in our starting lineup, and playing with them is a lot of fun in itself for me. But I think what's special about this group is that those guys, they just want our team to be successful, and there's no real egos amongst them, and I think that just is infectious to the whole team, and means the ball moves. It means we're not really worried about who's scoring, and yeah, it's just a really fun way to play.
What about for you when you could come on the court and play that role as a point guard? I think in the last 3 games you've had 22 assists, which is remarkable, and it shows 2 things: that you're doing a great job of distributing the ball and finding the right guy to take the shot, and that the guys are confident enough to hit the shots when you find them. How nice is it to have that sort of talent around you, where you know if you make the right play, they're likely going to finish off your good work?
Yeah, those assist numbers are made pretty easy with the guys I've got around me, and the style we're playing is pretty free-flowing, so if we can get stops and get out and kind of push the ball, I think, yeah, those opportunities are pretty easy to come by at the moment. Yeah, like we said earlier, it's just a lot of fun to play how we're playing, and yeah, I'm just really grateful to be a part of what we're doing here.
you're playing in front of some big crowds as well, and this Sunday against the Hawks, the club's trying to break the NBL record and hopefully get more than 17,000 people to the game. They're doing some great things to try to raise some money to help with the horrible bushfires that are going on at the moment as well. How much are you looking forward to Sunday's big game against the Hawks?
Yeah, I mean, definitely looking forward to it, to hear what the club's trying to do with the amount of people they're trying to get through the door. I think as a player, you thrive and you look for those opportunities to play in front of big crowds. But, up until this point, our crowds have been great as well. Yeah. Obviously, with LaMelo coming in, he's dragging crowds wherever he goes around the country. And, we're looking forward to him coming to Sydney. But, obviously also trying to raise some money for those affected by the bushfires.
What about tracing back 6, 7, 8 months, whenever you did end up signing for the Kings? I think it surprised a lot of people, including me, when you couldn't find a spot in the league last season. I know you're up in Cairns and working hard, just trying to stay in shape, trying to stay within an NBL program, hoping a chance opened up. And it did in the end for Adelaide, but obviously it wasn't a full contract like you deserved and like you're proving that you deserve. How did it all come about that you ended up signing with the Kings?
Yeah, it kind of come, I guess, to me out of nowhere. I've been speaking to a couple of teams, and myself, I was reaching out to every team that I could, trying to just get an in anywhere I could. Obviously, I was on the adder at the time, and the Kings kind of came through my agent. Yeah, Will did some research on me with, I guess, the Boomers guys in Mule and some of my teammates that have been a part of those programs. And, just the way it worked out, I guess, the Kings were the first team to come to me with something solid, and it worked out really well, and something I'm grateful for them to see something in me and see how it's into their culture that they're trying to build. And it was really exciting at the time, and really looking forward to what the rest of this season's going to be like.
When you look back on last season and the start of it, where you found yourself without a contract, and you, like I said before, you were, working out up in Cairns still. Firstly, how surprised were you that you didn't get a contract, and how determined were you to make sure that, I guess, you just banged down the door to make sure that wasn't the end of your career and that you did get another chance? How desperate were you to make sure that wasn't it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too surprised at the time. I mean, I'd come off not playing so much my last year in Brisbane, so I knew how good this league was, and I knew it was going to be tough to, I guess, come from a losing team like we were in Brisbane and not playing much on a losing team. I know it's not really a really good look, so I wasn't overly surprised. And I think at the time a lot of teams really had their backup guard positions locked in, either with new free agents or guys that were on multi-year deals. So kind of saw it coming a little bit in a way. But in terms of staying ready, I guess, I kind of, being around the league a lot, I knew that things always come up with injuries and whatnot, and I never really took it as I was out of the league and didn't have a job. I just kind of kept working up there in Cairns and making sure I was in shape, and eventually I guess it come up in Adelaide with the job that come up in January. I really thought it would come up sooner with how teams are with injuries and stuff like that, but it just wasn't the case. But something I had to work through, and something I'm proud of with how I handled it. Just excited now to not be in that position and be competing again.
Did you talk to your brother a lot about it? Because I think to a lot of people, his career probably ended sooner than it perhaps could have or should have. I'm not sure how he feels about it, but did you stay in touch with him about it? And did he help sort of give you some advice on how to make sure you were able to keep yourself sort of attractive to anyone who did find themselves with a position that opened up?
Not so much. I mean, my whole family was kind of reaching out and seeing what I was up to and seeing how they could support me. That was Aaron and my other brother Cam, mum and dad, like everyone. But I was pretty good with where I was at and what I was doing in Cairns. I felt like that was a good situation for me up there with Mike, and just being able to work with them every day was something that I knew I couldn't take for granted, but I just had faith in the back of my mind that it would pay off and that something would come up eventually, and I guess that did.
How do you look back on your time both, firstly with the Taipans, where you you probably had your best season up until now in that grand final year, but then you obviously moved down to Brisbane and for those 2 years there. And having spoken to you about it, you probably were looking forward to a little bit more freedom than you probably could have had under Fernie, but maybe the 2 years didn't quite turn out how you hoped at the Bullets. How do you look back on your time at both those clubs to start your NBL career?
Yeah, I mean, first, what Aaron Fern did for me to start my career, I could never thank him enough. Like, bringing me up as a bit of an unknown, as a development player. Giving me a really good opportunity to be a part of this league. I mean, he was, super influential in me being who I am. My time in Cairns was great. A lot of great memories. Obviously, we went to the grand final there, and I was a part of that. That was a whole lot of fun, but it kind of just got to a point where, for me to grow, I felt like I had to move from Cairns, and at the time that was tough because I had such good relationships with Bernie and the rest of the guys, and I mean, just dealing with contracts and stuff, sometimes that's up to your agent, management, and really who you go to war with every day with the players and coaches. It's out of your hands, and for me to move forward at the time, it was to move to Brisbane and play with the Bullets, and I mean, everybody can say when we look back on those years at the Bullets, it was tough. We're a new club, come in from scratch, and we obviously struggled there for a couple of years, and obviously thankful for that opportunity to play with that club and for them to want me to be a part of the start of a new franchise. But I really wish we could have had some more team success.
Yeah. How different is it in Sydney, both in terms of basketball, where you're now part of a team that has some of the biggest names in the game when you consider Andrew Bogut and Casper Ware and Didi Louzada and Brad Newley and even Kevin Lish, who we haven't seen yet this season, and also living in the city there, compare it to Cairns and not so much Brisbane, but Cairns and Adelaide as well. Has it taken you a little bit of adjusting to live in Sydney as well over the last 6 or 8 months?
No, not a whole lot. We're kind of based out at Olympic Park in Western Sydney, so we're kind of away from everything that Sydney, I guess, has a reputation for, with being busy and right in the thick of it. So in terms of living, I don't feel too much of a difference. I live out this side of town and pretty close to everything, so I'm not stuck in traffic or anything like that. So living-wise, it hasn't been too much of an adjustment.
How's life away from basketball treating you? It's obviously tough when sometimes you don't know what your future is, and I guess when you're moving from city to city a fair bit over the last 4 or 5 years, is life away from basketball treating you as well as it seems to be on the court at the moment too?
I think it is. It's easy to enjoy everything else when your team's winning, I think, and everything's really good. Just really looking forward to finishing this season well, and hopefully we can bring a championship to Sydney. What
are you doing away from basketball? You're studying? Have you got some other things in place that I guess keeps you busy when you're not focused on basketball?
Yeah, so while I was in Cairns, actually, I was lucky they had a partnership with CQ University while I played there, so I was able to finish a sports science degree while I was up there, and it took a couple of years off from studying while I was in Brisbane, but just recently this off-season I've just started a Master's in Business Admin, so knocked over four subjects with that, so that's kept me busy during the off-season and the early part of this season, so trying to get as much onto my resume as I can for the time that my career does finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Just finally, now, as I mentioned earlier, my co-host on this show is Shaun Redhage. Given you haven't played with him before, I can't imagine you have too many fond memories from playing against Shaun over the years.
Yeah, I mean, played against Shaun a lot. I guess one of my first memories, and this is a credit to Shaun, but when I was playing in Cairns, and I wasn't playing a lot, it was either when I was a development player or in my rookie year, and I wasn't playing a lot, but I just remember, obviously Shaun was known to get into it with guys and whatnot. I remember the coaching staff coming to me and saying, hey, if it comes to it, in this game, we may need you to get out there and kind of run through a Shaun Redhage screen. And I think that was a credit to Shaun, because our coaching staff viewed him as somebody that when he's in the game, he's extremely tough to handle. And I mean, getting into a bit of an altercation with him, or kind of getting into one of those scuffles that Shaun would get into from time to time, could potentially take him off his game or take the Wildcats off his game. But that's probably something, respect to the Wildcats, they never let that stuff get out of hand, and it's probably something Shaun did really well, and it just showed what our coaching staff thought of Shaun, that if we could get under his skin a little bit, it could go into helping us win, and they definitely saw him as a big factor. But bit of a story off topic, but really respect to what Shaun did across his career. He did it a different way out there in Perth, and it was a big part of their system, and had a lot of success. So I'm sure a lot of guys would really respect that and would love to emulate his career.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of having fine careers, you're doing really well yourself, Shaun. You're up to 165 games now in the league, and you're probably playing the best basketball of your life too. And it's a credit to you for sticking at it, and for now getting the chance that you deserve. Like I said at the start of this chat, you've always had the ability to do what you're doing right now. All you needed was the platform to do it. So I couldn't be happier for you to be playing the way you are now, and let's hope it continues. And yeah, thanks for joining us on the show.
No worries, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Next up here on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, we'll keep the interviews going. Big show this week, heading into round 7 of the NBL season, and I caught up with Cody Ellis, a man who obviously grew up with basketball in his blood, and he grew up with Perth Wildcats in his blood, given what his dad Mike did as a early stalwart and captain and championship winner at the Wildcats. But after his college career over at St. Louis University, it never quite eventuated that he played with the Wildcats. And if you have a look at the men in his position, whether it was Shaun Redhage or Matty Knight or Jesse Wagstaff, or even in recent years Nick Kay, you can probably understand why. But I think it's something that has always frustrated Wildcats fans, that the Ellis name didn't continue with the Wildcats. But he had some good years at the Sydney Kings, first of all straight out of college, and then at the Illawarra Hawks, including helping them to a grand final. But disappointingly, I think for a lot of people, he's found himself out of the league now for the last season and a bit. After a tough last season at the Hawks, continues to play tremendous basketball in the WASBL with the Warwick Senators, where he's coached by his dad Mike. He's a terrific family man with his wife Lauren and son Chase. So we'll chat about all of that and a lot more in this following interview, and I hope you enjoy it. I caught up with Cody Ellis for Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. Welcome back here to Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, and I'm very, very grateful to be joined by Cody Ellis on the show. A lot of you would recognise the Ellis name if you're a Perth Wildcats fan from back in the day, but also if you've been an NBL fan over the last 7 or 8 years, you would have watched him with the Illawarra Hawks and the Sydney Kings, and even if you're a local WASBL fan, you would have watched him at the Warwick Senators as well. Cody, thanks very much for joining me.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Great to be able to chat with you, because you've got a fascinating story to share. But before we get to looking back and looking forward a little bit, can you just tell our listeners what you're up to at the moment? Because I think, like I said in my introduction, I think it's disappointing to a lot of us that you're not playing in the NBL. So what does life have in store for you at the moment?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously a bit frustrating from my side not to be playing in the league anymore, but it is what it is. Normal working man these days, mate. Working at a company called Campion Education, working the warehouse, dealing with all the incoming stock and all that stuff, and then work a bit down at Warwick Stadium, bit of coaching and bit of games controlling, just of some of the junior comps down there, and then spending time with the fam, man, which is pretty nice.
That's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, so we might as well get straight into it, because I think a lot of people didn't realise that for most of the time while you were playing in Sydney and playing in Wollongong, you were away from your wife Lauren and away from your son Chase. One of the benefits, I guess, out of being able to move back to Perth over the last 18 months is I'm sure, being able to spend a lot more time with them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And look, my first 2 years in the league with Sydney, these guys were with me, luckily. But once we went to the Hawks, the little fella, started up school and all that sort of stuff, and I didn't really want to be moving him schools all the time, and I always knew I was going to be coming back to Perth to play in the off-season, and we figured may as well kind of settle down here a bit for his sake more than anyone. And, so, look, over the past 18 months now, it's been nice to actually live the family life as well.
What are your thoughts basketball-wise? Because I think watching you play in the SBL and having compare that to when you were playing in the NBL, you might even be in better shape right now. You're in terrific shape. You're playing as well as you ever have still. So ability-wise and physical-wise, there's no reason you can't be playing in the NBL right now. Is it a hope for you to still be able to get back there at some stage, or have you started to give up on that dream?
Look, it's one of those things that I talk to my wife about, probably more than she wants to talk about, to be honest with you. But look, the body feels good. I mean, I'm only 29 years old. It's not like I'm, mid-30s or anything like that yet. So, and that's probably the frustrating part for me, not being able to pick up a contract somewhere. And, I feel like I can compete with some of the players around the league still, for sure. But look, I mean, I spoke to my agent during this last off season, and there was nibbles here and there, but there was nothing really solid. And to have to move away from the fam again, it'd have to be something decent, or at least a couple of years where I could bring the family with me and stuff like that. So it's kind of it's almost on the verge of probably not happening again. And look, I mean, this will be currently my second year out of the league, and you don't see too many guys come back into a league after a few years out, unfortunately. But look, I'm trying to keep in shape and all that sort of stuff, and play my best basketball I can. And if something comes calling, then so be it. If not, then it is what it is.
I've also spoken to Shaun Bruce on this week's show, and I guess he's a perfect example of somebody that shows that you just don't give up, and you never know what can happen, because you're in a very similar situation to him, where you found yourself out of the league, but you've also kept yourself in great shape. You've kept yourself playing strong basketball in the state league, and you've kept yourself ready. Like, if a club called you right now, I'm sure you're ready to go. So I mean, it's just a matter of waiting to see, and it's out of your hands in a lot of ways, which is frustrating. But if it happens, you're ready to go, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And look, Brucey's killing it right now. He's found his perfect spot with those boys, and he's killing it. And like you said, he's that perfect example of always staying ready, man.
I'm sure you'd be able to play overseas and do it successfully as well, but the fact that you've got your family to think about, is that why you've sort of resisted that temptation too?
Yeah, man. Look, having the family and all that sort of stuff, it was always going to be one of those things that it was kind of NBL or nothing really. And like overseas never really sparked my interest too much, to be perfectly honest with you. So adding that into the equation with the family and all that sort of stuff, it was nothing that I ever really looked at, to be honest.
Having a look at the league at the moment, and especially this weekend now with the Kings and Hawks game this Sunday, where they're trying to break the league's attendance record of 17,000 people. They're both your former clubs, and they both. I know you got to a grand final at the Hawks, but in terms of crowd-wise, they weren't always at its peak, I guess, when you're at both clubs. How have you seen the growth of the league, I guess, in recent years? And given they're both your former clubs, how proud are you to see that they're able to put on a show like they're going to this Sunday?
Oh, mate, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And especially with all the money that they're going to be raising this weekend.
Sure.
For the bushfire stuff, which is awesome. Yeah, look, when I was with the Hawks, that year we made the grand final. We had the stadium pretty jam packed quite a few times, which is great. And to see a community like that get around the team is huge, and because it's such a small little town. But even up in Sydney now, man, it's the attendance they're getting now, and the team that they've put on the floor is awesome. It's really cool to see. It's something that I think the league needed. They needed Sydney to be that big team, and right now they're the team to beat. And I think that's definitely something the league needed, and they've done well to get that to where it is now. I'm actually looking forward to watching that game on the weekend.
How do you reflect on, though, that I guess it was a couple of seasons at the Sydney Kings where the first season you joined halfway through, once you got back from college. Shane Hill was your coach to start with. He was always a big fan of yours, and I assume he still is. How do you reflect back on that time with the Kings to start with?
Yeah, look, it was one of those ones where I stayed in college for another semester just to get closer to graduating. Just took an extra few classes. When I came over, I probably wasn't in the shape that I would have liked to, just because, I wasn't really able to play or anything like that in the 6 months leading up to that.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate, and that's something that it certainly sucks. And looking back, it obviously didn't help when I first got there. It took quite a few games just for me to get into my groove again and all that sort of stuff. But look, man, Hammer's an awesome dude. He knows his stuff. Love listening to him on the commentary now. It was a bit of a shambles that year, just with everything that went on. But yeah, look, I mean, to be able to play for a club like the Sydney Kings was certainly a big honour and something that I never took lightly. And really enjoyed it.
Then at the Hawks, it was really disappointing in a lot of ways that it ended how it did in that last season. Where, I mean, we all know the story now, and I remember writing something at the time about how it wasn't Bevo's decision, it wasn't anything you had done, it was just a decision from up above that they didn't want you to be playing, which was terribly frustrating because once you got on the court in the second half of that season, you showed what you could still still do. Did that cloud the way you sort of reflect on your time with the Hawks? Because up until that last season, you'd had a great time there.
Yeah, look, I try to not let it cloud it, but it's certainly extremely glaringly obvious that it happened, and there was so much talk around it, which is something that I wanted to try and avoid a bit, just because I felt like it kind of took away from the team and stuff like that. And when we spoke about it last, I did mention that. But yeah, look, I loved my time at the Hawks, and Wollongong's one of my favourite places. Probably is my favourite place that I've ever lived, to be honest with you. And look, it sucks, but I certainly loved my time there. Loved everything about it. All the boys, the whole community was just amazing. And
it just seems like one of those places, once you're entrenched at the club, once you're entrenched in the city, it just seems like one of those places you never want to leave. I've spoken to Kevin White this week as well, and he certainly didn't want to leave. He was happy to spend the rest of his life living there once he got settled there with his new baby. Have a look at guys like AJ Ogilvy and Tim Conrad, and now that they're settled there, it's just one of those places that once you're there, you just never want to leave.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And that was certainly a very upsetting thing when I wasn't re-signed, is just leaving the place, mate. Like I said, just Wollongong in general, but also the community and stuff like that is just a level above everything. I still keep in contact with lots of guys over there. And like you said, you got Tim Conrad's, your AJ Ogilvy's, even Oscar Foreman's still living over there and stuff like that. It's just a place you don't want to leave.
It was always a great credit to you that you always kept coming back to play in the SBL with the Senators as well, even when you were in the NBL, and now you've continued to do that. Obviously, the Senators is a club that means a lot to you. It was your junior club. Sterling's been a big part of your whole family's life, going back to your dad and your uncles and everybody. How much does it mean to you to be able to still play at that club, and to the best thing for me is seeing the whole Ellis family there every time you walk into Warwick Stadium on a game night. It's just a fantastic thing to see that it means so much to everybody that's in your family.
Yeah, man, and like you mentioned, it's kind of the family club, and to be able to play for the one club, from when I basically started basketball all the way up until now, is awesome. And I take a lot of pride in that, in being the one club man. I don't think it really matters what level. SBL is is at a very high level, and it's one of those things I think the league is really overlooked, being so far away from the East Coast. It kind of just gets pushed to the side. But I really think we have teams in the league that can compete with anyone all over the country in any of the other leagues. And look, the whole family still gets around the club, and obviously Dad's the coach still. And we heard lots of rumours this off season that Dad and I had quit the club and moved to another club, all that sort of stuff. And for anyone thinking that, they're crazy, because that's never going to happen. I'd rather stop playing than go to play for another club.
Yeah, I never would have bought into that at all. And certainly in terms of your dad, I always imagined if you wanted to keep coaching, then it's his job, and he wouldn't be coaching anywhere else either. But in terms of that, you've been a really good team for 4 or 5 years now, and even this year you're able to push Geraldton to 3 games, and you won a game up in Geraldton. They went on to win the championship. That push to win that championship, given you've been such a good team for so long, that must be something that drives you and your dad on to keep going to.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. And we do talk about it all the time, and we feel like we're really close. We feel like we're just there. Last couple of years we've kind of just stumbled just at the end, and I thought we had a really good chance to beat Geraldton in that series this last season. And look, they ended up being too good for us, and like you said, they went on to win it all. Which is great. It's great for them. A couple of those guys have been hunting for that for a while now. So it's good to see them end up getting it. But that's certainly something that we're hunting for, and we've got kind of a core group of guys that have been in that same hunt with us for the past couple of years, and we're certainly very hungry. So it's certainly in our drive, and it's certainly something that we talk about pre-season, and kind of helps motivate us, get us ready for the next season.
Something you probably get asked all the time, but I'll probably get lots of complaints if I don't throw it your way. Have you ever come close to playing for the Perth Wildcats, and has it ever been something that you've been desperate to try and do, or is it something that is more something that people from the outside naturally look at just because of your dad's history at the club?
Yeah, it's definitely people on the outside talking about it more so than anyone. I've never really spoken to them, man, to be honest. Look, they've had guys like Shaun and Jesse Wagstaff in their 4 spots for as long as I've been in the league, and now they've got Jesse on another 2-year contract, and they've got Reece Fake coming in, and obviously Nick Kay too. There now. So look, it's obviously their core group has worked for them, being so successful and all that sort of stuff. So it's one of those things that if they ever did talk to me, then it's something I definitely would have considered. But it's never been something that I've absolutely craved to play for them, just because of what the family's done with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, and it's probably the thing that you'll enjoy talking about the most, your son Chase, and the way he's growing up into a cheeky little fella. Just talk me through what it's been like to see him grow up and to see him continue to grow up into the boy that he is.
Oh, it's awesome, man. It's it's definitely one of the best things I've ever done in my life is become a dad, and he's you're right, he's definitely a cheeky little fella. But man, it's so cool to see him grow and just watch them day by day, learn things. And the missus and the little fella were actually in the States these past 3.5 weeks, and they came back, and he was way taller than when he left, and it freaked me out when I was at the airport. He's starting to shoot up a bit. The kid doesn't stop eating. It's crazy. Which I now understand what Mum and Dad were on about all those years when I was at home, and but oh man, I love it, and it's great to like I said, watch them grow and kind of be part of that, and see little traits of yourself and the family creep into their everyday life, and it's a lot of fun, man.
That's fantastic, and you've got a great basketball story to share already, Cody, and hopefully it's not finished. I'm sure it's not finished because, like you said, you're not even 30 yet, and to think that somebody like Shaun was still playing in the NBL until he was 36 is still playing in the SBL now at 38. So you've got plenty left in the tank, I would hope. Thanks again for joining us, Cody. Always great to catch up with you, and I look forward to following what you get up to next.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
That interview with Cody Ellis was proudly brought to you by ID Athletic. Now, we're going to have a very special deal for the rest of this season between ID Athletic and here with Basketball Hustle, where one of our listeners, if you're part of a basketball club, so whether you're a junior team, a social team, even a state league team, and no matter what sport you are as well, we'll have a competition running now for the rest of this season. So check out our social media pages, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or indeed on Twitter. We'll have a website set up where you can register your details, and by the end of the season, we'll pick out one winner who will win a full set of uniforms for your team. So stay tuned to Basketball Hustle for that. But ID Athletic, a fantastic apparel provider for basketball or for any sport indeed. So get in touch with the team at idathletic.com. They'll take care of all of your apparel needs for your sporting team. So whether it's what you wear on the field or on the court, whether it's your polo shirts and jackets and pants and everything else off the court, ID Athletic will have you looking tremendous this season. If you want to impress anybody, if you want to be in the finest gear, check out idathletic.com. Special deal if you mention Basketball Hustle, a 4-week turnaround from the time you place your order to delivery, free design service if you need it. ID Athletic will have you looking the very best on and off the court and off the field this season. So check them out at idathletic.com.
Well, it's time for the fourth quarter, and this week we've got a special fourth quarter, and I'm going to talk about the 4 surprises so far in the NBL. This segment's brought to you by Devlin's in Subiaco. Head there for anything that you want for this Christmas time. If you're a man, if you need ties, you need cufflinks, you need cigars, they've got it all. So thanks to Devlin's. Now, my 4 surprises so far in the NBL, you first got to start with the LaMelo Ball effect. You know, I don't think anyone realized how big of effect he might have on this league. He's putting up fantastic numbers. Everyone's talking about him potentially being a number 1 pick, but just the exposure that he is getting the NBL over in the USA, here in Australia. People are showing up at his games, even though his team isn't playing great. They want to see what he's all about, what he can do with the basketball out there on the court. So it's exciting for the NBL. The Next Stars program has been a great initiative, and I think it's something unique that the NBL has brought that no other league in the world's been able to match. So credits to Larry Kesselman and the NBL for this initiative, and see the guys like LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton, and Didi Louzada just light up the league is fantastic. And that's my first surprise, just how big of effect that has had. I think when the league first came out with it, they weren't sure how successful it was going to be, but I don't think they envisioned it to be this successful. So credit to them, credit to the Ball family for the exposure that they've given to the league. Now, my second surprise is the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Just their great start to the season. You know, I don't think anyone would have predicted that, with a new coach, a new franchise, all these new players coming in. Usually it takes at least a half a season to kind of start to gel. But the fact they've had so many home games, I think they did a great job recruiting, bringing in so many established stars like your Mitch Creek, bringing back Ben Madgen, and then finding a diamond in the rough in John Roberson has been huge for them, and they're just playing at a whole nother level that I don't think anyone would have expected this early in the season. Now, my third surprise so far is just the lack of minutes for Ruben Tarangi and Mika Vakona. I know Brisbane started out well. They won 3 quick games, but those guys, especially Ruben Tarangi, the season he had last year, coming off, probably some not many minutes when he was over in New Zealand, and he was just outstanding for Brisbane last year, getting most improved. And this year he's averaging 9 points, 9 minutes, 3 points a game, yet to record a block, 3 assists, 33% from the field. So, I think they've got to, try and use him a little bit more. And even Mika Vakona, his stats don't really tell you his value to a team. So, I think they're a little bit small. I think they're going to need that experience if they're going to contend with the Perth Wildcats, Sydney Kings, and Melbourne United. And my last surprise is just how dominant the Sydney Kings have been, especially defensively. You looked at this team, you thought they made up pretty well. They brought in Casper Ware. Didi Louzada was kind of an X factor. He's been much better than I think anyone could have predicted. And I just but to me, the guy that's made a huge difference is Shaun Tate. He's fun to watch. I really like the way he plays. Just a bulldozer down there doing all the little things. They needed someone to kind of be that, kind of get down and dirty and do the little things that a successful team needs. And, I'm wondering, could they end up with a 26-2 record? Or I think the league's too tough to get that type of record, but they could be up there. If they can go all the way and play this dominant, they could be up there with some of the greatest teams to ever take the court. When you got Andrew Bogut, they still got Kevin Lish to come back. So they just got to stay healthy. But can't believe that they're this dominant with so many, especially with a new coach, Will Weaver. He's done a fantastic job. So credit to the Sydney Kings. And that's the fourth quarter segment for this week. Thanks for joining us. And we'll look forward to another great segment next week.
Okay, Shaun, it's now time for our Round 7 preview, and it all starts Friday night. First ever meeting in this historic rivalry between the Adelaide 36ers and the Perth Wildcats at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. Could very well set another record crowd in South Australia for this one. Big game for both clubs as well, coming off losses. It's a hell of a rivalry, as we know. You were a big part of it for a long time, but this is a cracking way to start off the round on Friday night.
Yeah, they are. Both teams are going to be desperate for a win. I think Adelaide being at home, I think they usually play pretty well. Joey Wright will have their boys fired up. And I think it's kind of been a tough stretch there with the Wildcats. So much travel going all the way South Island of New Zealand, back to Perth, over to Sydney, back home, back over to Adelaide. I'm actually going to tip Adelaide in this one, just being at home and knowing their desperation and all the travel that the Wildcats have had to do over the past little couple weeks. I think Adelaide might sneak and get a win there.
Does that hurt you as a Wildcats great, tipping against Perth in Adelaide?
Look, but you just got to, I try and put my, my tipping hat.
Yeah, I know.
You try and put your emotions, and I guess, obviously you've got a long time connection there with the Wildcats, but just kind of putting on that expert into this one. And I just think that there's just so many things that are going against the Wildcats as good as they are. I haven't seen the Wildcats get to that next level yet. I think they've got some wins, but I haven't seen them really click on all cylinders outside of that Southeast Melbourne Phoenix game at home. They've been able to get some wins on the road, but it hasn't been convincing yet.
Then on Saturday, a doubleheader starts with the third throwdown already. So we're 7 weeks in and already had 3 of these Melbourne derbies. Melbourne United, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. United are on fire at the moment, as we've talked about earlier in the show, but the Phoenix have been unbeatable in Melbourne as well, just about too.
Yeah, it's been definitely a favorable schedule for the Phoenix. We talked about that early on, but I think Melbourne United, just the way they're playing, they're going to get Casey Prather back into the swing of things as well. I think he'll be much more effective this week, having another a week of training, and also getting those first couple games you come back, you're just kind of finding your touch and your feel for the game. So I think he'll be much better, and with Casey Prather playing to the level that we know what he's capable of, I think it's going to make Melbourne United pretty tough, and playing at home, not having to travel. I think United get that one.
Then second up on Saturday, I think they've dubbed it the Sunshine Stoush now between the Cairns Taipans and Brisbane Bullets. Another must-win game for the Taipans. They can't afford to lose again at home and slip to 2-7, but the Bullets can't afford to drop it either. It's a big game for both teams.
Sunshine Stoush, that's a new one, but we'll see how that one plays out. Don't feel like that has as a good connotation to it that you would expect in the fierce sunshine swing there. So I think Brisbane will be able to get that one. Cairns, they just not being able to get Illawarra at home, I think kind of hurts their confidence a little bit. But you're right. I think, Cairns is going to get that one. I think they need to play through Nate JY and try and expose, I guess, maybe the lack of bigs that Brisbane have. And I think that Brisbane, they desperately need that one and see if they can get Cam Glidden firing as well.
And on Sunday, massive game. I know that the Kings are hoping to break the NBL record, hopefully. They're hoping to get 17,000 plus people to this game. Even just to get to 11,000 to break the record between these two clubs will be a fantastic effort. Sydney Kings Illawarra Hawks on Sunday at the Kingdom.
Well, for a game between 1 versus 9, there's just so much hype around it. It's all a LaMelo Ball factor. And that's what LaMelo Ball's been able to bring to the league. Besides his fantastic play and his exposure, when he comes to town, when he came to Perth, great turnout, even better than their first game. So it's exciting, and you want to see potentially the number 1 pick play, because this is probably going to be the only time that you're going to get a chance to see a guy like that play in the NBL. So it's hopefully the Sydney King fans turn out, probably get some come up from Illawarra as well. And we'll see. I think it's going to be, obviously the Kings will get this one, but it's going to be exciting and hopefully give a little bit more exposure to the NBL with that one there in the city of Sydney.
Now, you'll be courtside for this one for the TV coverage. The Perth Wildcats New Zealand Breakers on Sunday. The Breakers will be fresh. Hopefully they get some bodies back as well. Wildcats coming off playing in Adelaide on Friday, but it's been a long time since they played at home, so they'll want to make the most of that.
Yeah, they will. They get a little bit more energy when they're at home. Defensively, they're much better. The defense hasn't been outstanding this year so far, so they're going to be looking. I thought they've rebounded the last couple games much better than they did at the start of the year, where they were dead last in defensive rebounding, which is almost unheard of a Wildcats team. So, New Zealand, it's always a tough travel coming over. The thing that they do have benefiting them is the Wildcats playing in Adelaide on Friday night, traveling back. They might even be in Perth before Adelaide or before Perth gets back from Adelaide. So it's, there's some things that could go in New Zealand's favor, but as we talked about earlier, I just feel like their chemistry. I'm never going to discount a team that's got Corey Webster and the way that he can shoot the basketball can just will a team to win. He's a flat out scorer, and you see that when he plays with the national team as well. He can light it up with the best of them in the world. So there's a chance there, but I expect the Wildcats to take that one at home and I guess get off the losing streak potentially if they lose to Adelaide on Friday.
And last up, Monday night in Melbourne, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, Adelaide 36ers, another chance for Mitch Creek to play against his old team. Both teams coming off playing earlier in the weekend too, so you'd have to...
These two teams play every weekend, Pikey. The way the schedule is, especially in Melbourne, but that's a tough one to pick. I think Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix, I guess, just being at home. But Adelaide, it's only a short trip from Adelaide to Melbourne, so I don't think that'll worry them too much. But, I think Mitch Creek does enjoy playing against his former team. We've seen that early in the season. So I think Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix, the way they've been playing, their form, they'll be able to get that one. So those are my picks for the week. But, in NBL basketball, it means nothing until you put the basketball, throw that up there and see how it all plays out.
No, you're right, but we're holding each other to our account. If you have a look on social media, we put our tips up every week, and I think it's pretty close. I'll do the tally, but we might even be equal coming into this round, Shaun. So things are tightening up between us in terms of our tips. But thanks again for your insight, and terrific show again this week. Thanks to Shaun Bruce and Cody Ellis for catching up with us, and thanks to you also for your special fourth quarter segment for this week, Shaun. Thanks as always, to Hoops Heaven for being our naming rights sponsor. Thanks to the support of RD Athletic and to Devlin's. Now, Shaun, it's time for your final thoughts for this week.
Well, and do we have a special for Hoops Heaven for our listeners there, Pikey?
We absolutely do. The code word, you can use it at the checkout if you head on to hoopsheaven.com.au, and the code word is HUSTLE. You'll get a very special discount, so make sure you get along there and use that and help yourself to some very special goodies.
That's right. Christmas coming up. No better place than to get the latest NBL, NBA jersey, short, If you need some basketball shoes for your loved ones, that's the place to go, and use the word hustle and support our sponsors, and they'll take care of you over there. Even if you're over east or away from Perth, they'll be able to ship that out to you. So go on and support Hoops Heaven, and we'll look forward to listening to everyone back here next week.
Bye, have a great time.